that I did. The book came out in July of 2007. So in the fall term of 2007, I did a book tour that I arranged, not my publisher. So I spoke at Harvard, Berkeley, University of Michigan, Stanford, Michigan State, University of Florida, Boston University, International University in Florida. I spoke at about 9 universities around the country during September, October, November of 2007. I was also invited to the Dag Hammarskjöld Foundation in Sweden, so I was in Uppsala, Sweden, discussing the relationships between Europe and Africa. The reason I was invited was both my scholarship and my activism, meaning they wanted to hear about the opposition to the Green Revolution for Africa. I was in Geneva working with UN organizations there, and then in May I was in Bonn back in Europe because it was the Convention on Biological Diversity Conference of Parties meeting in Bonn, so it was COPE meeting, and that is a central international level seat of organizing in favor of small-scale farmers' indigenous seeds. So I was able to travel quite a bit in the fall and to discuss the book. I was using the book mainly to, again, try to organize resistance against the Green Revolution for Africa, which, as Fred said, is promoted by the Bill Gates Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation. Then, what I really want to talk about is by March, I was in Southern Africa, and I spoke at the University of KwaZulu-Natal and at the University of Dar es Salaam, but I was in residence in Harare. I was in residence in Harare. You might have noticed today that the U.S. Embassy has said all unnecessary personnel are supposed to leave Sudan today. Well, the whole time I was in Harare, the embassy had evacuated Americans. I was there during the electoral repression. I'm not going to talk about Zimbabwe. We can do that later if you want to. I am going to circulate some money, of which one of them is a $50 billion bill to show you the kinds of things you deal with when you're on sabbatical. However, I'm way behind. There is now a $1 trillion bill. So I'll just pass these around for you to take a look. And if you steal any, well, think how, I guess how much the $50 billion bill was when I left Harare, when I was using it. Guess how much U.S. currency it's worth? $1, way over. 25 cents. Now it's probably worth a penny or two, so anyway. So I very much was in Harare, and the personal item I want to give is I'm very much interlinked with colleagues and people that I consider family. So I very much follow Zimbabwe, and my heart and soul are in Zimbabwe. And with the death of Amai Chengerai this week, it's been very difficult. So Zimbabwe continues to suffer. My work, however, is in the region of Southern Africa, and it always has been. I pay attention to regional food security in the SADC region. I want to quickly state the problem of the research, which is to look at the industrial agricultural model of the United States and mainly of North Europe for food production, food exchange, and accumulation. And the statement of the problem is that this industrial agricultural model, production, exchange, accumulation, is unsustainable. And this is one of the issues that's being discussed around the world. But it's not just an issue for Americans here at home, because the United States government is very much promoting this agricultural model around the world. I'm going to be focusing on Southern Africa. Do hear that. It's not all of Africa. Eric knows I know nothing about Kenya. Daniel knows I know nothing about Eritrea. Okay? So I'm going to be focusing on Southern Africa, but do hear that this agricultural model is being promoted around the world. It includes the privatization of genetic resources, and in the name of development is going to try to replace smallholder producers with corporate production and exchange. There is much about the industrial agricultural model I could talk about. I'm going to focus on only one aspect, the privatization of genetic resources.